You're listening to The Bon Ray Show. It's 8 in the evening. Tune in every night at 8 to listen to The Bon Ray Show on Irish News Radio or ITV.ie. And you can contact anything that you've heard or if anything you'd like to discuss at news@irishnews.net.
We've caught up with Eileen again, and we're going to be finding out what exactly is happening with the EU, the UN, and everything with this new world order as things are moving very fast. It's very fast. You saw recently that they're appointed a new German leader, and in Brussels he announced that he's insisting, in fact, on the EU army. And our enemies will be Russia, China, and the US. Absolutely.
I missed that. Yeah, well, this doesn't surprise me. But, you know, these people, you don't get to that level. The EU, literally, it's controlled by the Bilderbergers and the ECB Bank. All of that is owned by the same elite 1%. So they don't get to that level unless they're chosen. They're just an actor. There's nothing following orders. And we have the same gang here in our own country. Well, what used to be a country. Being dismantled as a country every single day. Yeah, so this doesn't... they're going to try and start a world war.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely on the path. And Poland came out today to say that they're refusing to join the EU army. I haven't finished reading the article, but they want to join forces with NATO and the US. I think after Brexit,
they want to kill off the West, basically, and that is really the depopulation agenda, Agenda 21. But isn't it interesting? They always have their wars in white Christian countries. So World War I, the Russian Revolution was the same. Millions and millions of Christians killed, starved. World War II, and now they wanted a third world war. Yeah, you know, they're engineered at the highest level. They control the media, and people are sitting in front of their TV. It has given them a huge tool to manipulate and lie to people on a vast scale.
Absolutely. Did you see Gran Torino at the weekend? He was down at this anti-something Ruski demonstration, and all the leftists freaked her out on show. Like, he was a very brave man, but this woman kept antagonising him completely in his face. Really trying to get a reaction. I mean, he kept his cool. Fair play to him. I don't know how I would have reacted. He was fantastic, and fair play to him. He really kept his cool, but she kept trying to get a rise out of him. So he would do something. They go, "Oh yeah, look at the right-wing fascists hitting a woman." And that's what they were.
They're the fascists because he turned up. They drove down from Dublin, by the way. They don't live there. They drove down in an organised propaganda piece down the M50 or however you get to Ruski, and they were paid to do that. And then we had the Murdoch Times were there in coordination, so everyone's on their phones organising this propaganda piece for RTE. And if that woman hadn't turned up, she really needs some backup from her village. She was fantastic to turn up and ask them, are they from Ruski? Do they live here? And what the hell are they doing here then?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it was probably her teenage daughter or something that was with her, but it's, how dare they? This was paid propaganda, and United Against Racism, along with Shamnesty and ENAR and the Immigration Council and Antifa, are Soros fake fronts to subvert nation states. They are used to subvert nation states, just as they are in Brussels, where we have 226 bribed Soros pawns, 226 in the EU Parliament.
Absolutely.
And that can be found on the internet, you know, open society documents. And we have on page 109 to 111, we have our own 5 pawns. Not only are they paid by the, you know, very good salaries for being in Brussels to supposedly represent us here in Ireland, they are also paid off by Soros on top of their salary. And now we have, you know, we've Hayes. Well, he's gone off to work at the banks now. He's obviously made good connections. And Harkin, and obviously Boylan, and McGuinness. Unbelievable.
And Curry, that's Shane
Uh,
Curry, he's a bloody nightmare.
another one, I think it's Kelly. Yeah, Sean Kelly. So that is only the ones we have in the EU. Never mind the ones we have here. Yeah, it's shocking, really, is to find the amount of so-called Irish people who are there bullying and intimidating. And if they could have beaten up Gran Torino, they probably would have. They just did not want their propaganda piece being, you know, discovered and dismantled. And
No, like completely in his face. I actually did feel he was in danger at different points because, I mean, none of them were that young this time. They were all kind of 40s, 50s, complete looking people. Like the normal left are always like freaks. They're either overweight or underweight, but they all look like complete freaks, haven't worked a day in their life, and they're screaming about something or another.
they get like that. That's what amazes me. How do they get so mentally retarded? And there's no common sense in anything. And they're bullying the people of Ruski into submission.
Complete.
And they went down there, they were paid to do it, United Against Racism. We have Afghanis telling us how to run the country and we should open all our borders and everyone is... And then they made the piece, went back to RT with the film. It was put up on propaganda TV, Rothschild TV. And they had the cheek to announce that there were migrants there from Syria. And none of the... Do you not think that we know the difference between a Syrian and an Asian? Like the Arab race or the Asian race, we know the difference. They were not Syrians. They were Pakistani or another nationality. But the
You
people
see,
that
this is the whole thing. You can't question anything. They call them whatever they like, and then when you find out that it's complete lies, because originally they were Syrian refugees, right? Then I find out that they weren't Syrian. So then they moved the word to refugees. Then you find out they're not refugees. Then they moved the word to migrants. Then you find out that they're economic.
No, they're not. No,
and they
they're
just
not.
keep changing the words. They don't care that
They're
we know it's fake.
They're mostly migrants, economic migrants from low-wage countries. I mean, that's just pure common sense. But the fact that we have a whole range of pawns and traitors helping them, and literally, I mean, they just don't expect the people of Ireland to actually retaliate in any way. They really take us for complete fools. I mean, it's just, people have to get off the mainstream media because it's dangerous and it's totally controlled. We're not living in a free country. They're dismantling Ireland day by day.
You had never seen a newspaper before, or just as if it's normal.
I don't buy them at all.
I mean, even I just kind of pick them up just to see what's going on. You're better off not buying them. But once you're aware, they're actually so scary. It's like, it's so blasé. Oh, the EU army is a must. Yeah. And Ireland, of course, will be involved in the EU army. For a second, Mia signed into it anyway. So we've no choice in that.
Well, they'd like to cull as many Westerners as they can in one fell swoop. As many white Christians, because they want to rise with their new Messiah. Let's not forget. Their false Messiah. People don't believe this. This it goes over people's heads most of the time.
I don't actually blame them because it's just when you're reading this, and then sometimes I'm actually thinking this must be satire. This is crazy stuff.
Sometimes I think I'm living in a dream.
Actually given in European in Brussels actually saying this fucking madness. You're like, this is insane. How are they getting away with this? How is this allowed? Like threatening countries like China, Russia and America. For what reason?
The elite want to suck all the wealth right up to the top 1%, and they want to enslave mankind and remove borders. And all roads lead to Rome. So even Trump, I know people want to believe in Trump, but he is faithful to the New World Order, and he wouldn't have any choice anyway. He'd get a bullet in the head if he didn't do ultimately what he's supposed to do. So we have we have the National Union of Journalists, for example, without whose approval you cannot practice as a journalist. So they only accept new members who are known to have Marxist credentials and a hostile attitude to Christianity. That's what we're dealing with here. So we don't have any free media except online, and that will probably be hacked soon. I mean, we saw with Gemma as well.
Oh yeah.
They're
I'd say
trying.
most people hack. They're allowing us a bit because we're not reaching huge numbers to actually affect the masses are being affected by the
Yeah,
main media and they're brainwashed, so they don't really care. There's a few of us out there awake and waking up a few others because the numbers aren't big enough to affect their plans, so
yeah.
they don't really care.
A few
But if
stranglers. Yeah.
then that certainly would change. Freedom of speech would be done away with the next day. Literally, if they saw that any of us were reaching any numbers that they would have to be concerned about, then that's when things will change. Literally the next day.
Critical mass awareness. This is what they're afraid of. At the moment, they don't. We don't have that critical mass awareness. No, it's nice to see a few people retaliating, like that woman in Ruski who's asking what the hell they're doing down there. They don't even live there, and they're speaking
Yeah,
on behalf of the people of Ruski.
fantastic. Fair play to her. I think that at the moment they'll leave us alone because it'll cause more attention to actually close us down. But if any of us were getting any decent numbers that they felt any way threatened by, we'd all be gone. In the morning, they just shut us all down. It would all become hate speech. The EU and the Irish government anyway have already organised that is in documents anyway. So they would just kind of say, that's it, you're all hate speech, incitement to hate, all the other kind of things that come out.
It's like living in a nightmare. Like, it's free speech for everyone. You can't pick and choose. Otherwise, you live in a communist.
But the British just kept going on and on, but it was a lot bigger. Ireland's been easier to close down. But in England, there's been people who've been shut up for, once they reach any decent numbers, then, they're made aware of that, hate speech. And literally their lives are in danger. I mean, whether you agree with what they say or not, I mean, I didn't always agree with all of them, but the fact is, when you listen to them, they're not actually saying anything wrong. And then all their lives are in danger. You think of Jada Francis, you think of Tommy Robinson, any of them, for doing the right thing. And the mass media do believe that they're only saying this because the people are brown. Like,
Well, the
they're
thing
so
is,
brainwashed.
well, brown or white or whatever, it doesn't. There's a lot of actors out there as well who are used as subversion agents. By the
Oh, yeah.
elite to divert and to fool people and to deceive people. So, I mean, we don't really know. Like, there's Tommy Robinson has apparently connections to the Zionists. We have Maduro, who seems to have connections to Goldman Sachs. I mean, there's a lot of actors out there. But in one thing's for sure, the people at the very top are orchestrating Brexit. They're orchestrating all of these so-called trade wars. They're the ones orchestrating this enormous debt that's coming down on our heads, and it will come down again
Oh, God, yeah.
because it has tripled. I mean,
I think as soon as Brexit happens, I really do think we're going to see huge changes. I think Ireland's in for such a shit time because already Australia have backed, if there's no deal, but obviously they were an ex-colonial to Britain. They've said with a no deal, they're pushing through the deals for the UK already. So it's going to be like a competition between the EU and the UK, and the UK are going to come out way ahead.
I don't believe any.
And America is backing Brexit as well. So you've got America and Australia already. Like, the EU don't stand a chance against the UK. A, because of the language. B, because of history.
Controlled by the same people. They're controlled by the same people. The people, the City of London, a sovereign entity, not part of the UK, above the law, obeys no rules, pays no tax. The same with the Bank of England, the same with the Vatican, and Washington, Columbia District. And our national debt has quadrupled in 5 years. It used to be 68 billion, now it's over 200 billion.
Yeah.
And this is just another looting. This is the last stage because that debt was it was only been hidden. Quantitative easing, they've literally just printed money from a presser in their banks that they own for the last 10 years. And they've just been hiding it and waiting for the right moment to pull the plug.
and that is coming.
And
I
when
do
they
believe
pull it,
that Brexit. I think we're going to see things happening. I don't know what, but they're definitely pushing for a war. And I think once Britain is gone, this push for this EU army will be almost immediate, because I think they're getting worried that this is falling apart. I know that you're saying that the Brexit is the same thing, but I do think they're two different. I know you're saying that the same leaders probably at the top, and I'm not doubting that, but they're really going to push for this war. And I think after Brexit, for whatever reason, they're really going to push for this army. And I think it'll become that you have to join this army, mandatory.
oh
And
yeah,
I think that's very,
they want to cull millions.
yeah.
They did it in Russia. They just put barbed wire, locked people in pens and let them starve to death. Millions of them. There's no outcry about that. I barely ever hear about it. When
Yeah.
non-stop, and they were the same people that confiscated food from the Irish in 1845. They're the same. They're there. They're still there. Their descendants are there. They all marry each other. And when this whole thing collapses, which is they're doing deliberately to bring people to their knees, then Ireland will be compelled to sell significant national assets, again,
We already,
at fire sale
I mean,
prices.
yeah. Like even the area in Dublin I live in, most of it's owned by Nama Nama. You walk down the street and all of its beautiful properties are all taken in one swoop. And a lot of them were left to rot. Nothing's happened to them. They were just boarded up, and big security warnings on them: do not enter. And there's a 24-hour surveillance. But they're all just boarded up now along this fairly wealthy road. A load of the houses were just taken in one swoop.
Along with Aer Lingus, IAG, Eagle Star, 900 properties, Cerberus. There's a long list of them. Hammerson,
Yeah.
Dundrum, shopping centre, 400 million rent a year. Then they charge an extra euro for your parking, and they're building the apartments across the road now as well that they own. That we're paying for it with the parking. The extra euro. There used to be €2, now it's €3. They own it. They've Israeli facial recognition cameras in the airport. They have them in their properties now in Hammerson. They took the green off Aer Lingus because they want to remove national identity. That was a profitable airline. We didn't have to sell that. We have an absolute stinking, we have an unbelievable treasonous cabal working in the government. And I don't know if people, all sides.
Yeah, it's scary. It's definitely, it's heating up though every day. You just see it's like getting more scary. They do want the third war, and they want it to happen fairly soon. How they kick it off, and even I don't know whether you're hearing that idiot fucking Leo. He gets worse bloody every day. He really needs to be taken out. He's like telling the UK they're in for a nasty surprise. He's totally trying to
Is he reading
antagonize.
from the script? I think he's reading from the script, the little baby. Seriously,
Oh,
like,
he
I
is.
slap
Oh,
his
he
face.
actually. But it would be quite funny if it wasn't quite scary. Like United Kingdom, you're in for a nasty. Like it's like a child. It's like a nasty
And he was
surprise.
chosen.
What a nasty surprise are they in for? Like he's absolutely egotistic, lunatic. Like why would you say that? Like what?
There's another group the same group, the Fingal Battalion Against Austerity, were outside Bruton's house yesterday, and they were outside. I think some of the yellow vests were outside
Leo,
Leo,
yes.
the egomaniac, his
Interesting
apartment
photos.
as well.
Yeah, in
They wouldn't
Castleknock.
speak to the press. I wouldn't blame them. What press? Did we hear anything about the yellow vests in France yesterday? The whole place torn to pieces, and there wasn't a word about it on the news last night.
I saw a tiny clip. One of the Euro flags were being burnt. I was like, "Hey, great!"
Yeah,
They
but
were literally burning
Sonia
the Euro.
Khan, yeah, but I don't, but the UN is the problem, I think,
Oh God, yeah.
because it doesn't matter if the EU collapses, it will be just another divide and conquer. To bring people to their knees, to stop trade, to financially paralyze everything, and then the UN will take over, and then we'll have this one world religion and borderless world where the borders are removed and everyone can move everywhere, and the middle class would obviously be eliminated in the process. That's the whole point, to saddle the middle class with the social housing bill. We had this this farcical thing that, you know, the press, so-called newspaper, didn't even talk about, that came out on the 8th of February, where the EU Court of Justice has been forced now to continue to pay children's allowance to unemployed foreigners living in Ireland. So they're living here unemployed, and they're sending children's allowance back to their children in Romania, for example. So there was a jobless Romanian, and he filed a suit that we continue to pay. So we have to pay 40 million a year. 8,000 children living in other European countries who don't even live in Ireland.
It's ridiculous.
This on top of the farcical, supposed to be built a hospital for 700 million is now 2 billion. I mean, when are people...
They really want to copy the state. They just want to stop working for ourselves. They want to just collapse, as you said, the middle class, but even the upper class. They just want to collapse self-employed, even anybody who's working for themselves. They want us all working for the government. They want a complete communist state.
Yeah.
They don't want...
They wanted the euro in the first place. They wanted everybody to be on one currency, and this gives them enormous power. They can devalue everything in one go and bring people to their knees and create that communist federation, social globalism, social federation of no identity.
Yeah. And it's really obvious now, because it wouldn't have made any sense. Like, they're paying out all these houses. They collapse all the Irish big houses. Then the government and different puppets come in, take it in. They flood them with migrants, get paid to take them for migrants where the Irish are dying on the streets. They're constantly giving non-Irish jobs, which, you know, and they're still being funded by whatever social welfare, so all our taxes. It is complete collapse. They want a communism state, and this is the only way, is to collapse the middle class and everybody who works for themselves, to collapse them, so it'll be so hard to run a business or to make money for yourself that you'll have to work for the government.
Yeah. And people, you know, when you say communism, people laugh. They think, oh, you know, they're drinking their cappuccino, and they just can't imagine Europe ever being, you know, under communism. But
that's what it is. It's definitely,
It's just going to be, you know, you'll be in cubicle apartments. You'd be charged carbon tax from going A to B. It will just look more glamorous than maybe Russia. You know, with those 1950, those apartments, they look really very depressing.
Yeah.
You know, those grey-looking apartments they have over there, wires hanging down and everything. It might look more glamorous, but it's the same principle. It just looks prettier on the outside.
It's just complete government control. There will be nobody who will have land, housing. That is why the Nama came in to collapse all that, and that's why they're going to bring in property tax. The government is just stripping all assets off people, whether it's farms, property, land. They're going to strip businesses, everything off the person. So then once you've stripped everything, they come in and take everything.
Communist manifesto. Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Religion, remove the family, and destroy the nation.
All natural resources belong to the government, and well, they've already been taken over from Dev, because those natural resources were all supposed to go to the Irish people in the 1919 Constitution, Supreme Constitution, but Dev rewrote it with himself and McQuaid that it belongs to the assets belong to the state. So for monetary reasons, him and McQuaid did that to the state and church.
Well, I think I remember reading an article where Charlie Haughey questioned. I mean, it goes back a while. It goes back a long time, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, they've never. Anyway, I was reading this article. Yeah, Charlie Haughey questioned Gareth Fitzgerald at the time, but why he was going to Bilderberger. You know, that Bilderberg meeting, the secret meeting, and he was on his boat in Leitrim or somewhere, and the boat capsized. You know, there was an attempt made on his life. for daring to ask that question. And they've been working at this for decades. Decades.
Even if you look at that famous speech where Kennedy says capitalism isn't perfect, but at least we don't have to put up walls to keep our people in. And he got killed.
Free enterprise. We're talking about extreme capitalism, where if people working in sweatshops in China and you're selling the T-shirt, we're talking about. But that's not the same as having a normal free enterprise. You know, where you.
No, that's what he
in
meant.
charge of your own currency.
You didn't have to keep people in, like as in a communism state. They had to build a wall, as in Berlin, to keep their people in. That's what he was referring to.
Now it'll be the opposite. It'll be everyone pouring in from everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the idea. Nobody has any rights. Nobody has any identity. Nobody has any property. Nobody has anything. All belongs to the government. All belongs to the state. They got rid of the church bit. They had a state and church in Ireland, but they're going to get rid of that. And it's everything belongs to the state. Nothing belongs to the people. Not that I think it should really belong to the church, but that's why they're going hard at attacking the church. They want that as well.
They need to destroy that and need to destroy all of those
because then they can
pillar of Christianity in order to bring in this new world order. And the Pope is hard at work, you know.
There's nothing Christian about that man. He's never spoken up for Christians once. Since I've watched him, not once has he ever spoke up for Christians. I've heard him speak up many times for Muslims, but not once for Christians or any other religion other than Muslims.
Well, you see, it's more in line with the New World religion, do as thou wilt. You know, because they have bestiality, they've paedophilia, they've child brides, you know. I mean, they have I couldn't believe it. It took me like a day to recover. But they actually have animals now in brothels in Germany. Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
That's what I know.
To accommodate the Muslims, immigrants.
Well, accommodating to them, you know, whereas Christianity doesn't allow any of that depravity. So they have to remove Christianity.
Yeah.
And say, and in replace of it, will we worship the same God? But unfortunately, well, for them, Christianity does not allow any of that. It does not allow that depravity.
Not the same God at all. Our God does not say any of that. They're completely against all our commandments.
So I think we're near the end. They're working on now all this sexual. Half of those people were placed in the Catholic Church deliberately to undermine it. So they might have been paedophiles or might have had those tendencies. They're not all priests. I wouldn't say any. It's totally contrived. Yeah. Yeah,
I know that was even proven. McQuaid did a lot of that as well. McQuaid, he was part of that problem. Wasn't sure whether he was. It's not a paedophile. It's the one above where they're like teenage boys. They literally were hiring people who had no faith or even didn't believe in God or anything like that. They were saying go into the priesthood because they were all in some loop. They all knew each other, because it's like it's pretty disgusting. So they know that they have to cling together, and so few of them got in, and then they just built a group like that, and that's what happened. They knew what they were hiring. They knew some of them didn't even have a faith in God at all. They created that situation to hide so they could carry on the dirty deeds in the Catholic Church without any questions.
Well, it's infiltrated with Freemasonry, you know, and occult worship. I mean, you just have to look at, if anyone wants to Google, the throne in Vatican Hall. I always tell people to look it up, and then you'll sit back and say, well, my God, I'm not dreaming. That was the day I realized I'm not dreaming. I just said, oh my God, that is the most unbelievable statue you will find. It's supposedly it's an antichrist, it looks like, rising from the pit of hell with all its lost souls. You'd have to see it to believe it. I mean, no pope, if he was really a pope, would allow that to even be there. Yeah. So you can see it's completely infested. And I remember Padre Pio was fighting that at the highest level, Freemasonry. It was a nightmare. I know. This has all been, it's totally rot from the core. And of course, the Vatican Bank, sovereign, obeys no rules. Outside of Italy, same thing.
Yeah. Like Queen.
Controlled by the same ruling elite families as, that rule the world. The ones that go to Bilderberg are the ones that control the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements in Switzerland. That is the bank of all central banks. And I mean, if you go to the City of London, they have their own police force. It's separate to the British police force. They have their own unique police force that you can never get near them. Cameras everywhere, right there in the middle of London, directing world events. But all of them answer to Rome. Trump, I can tell you, him as well.
It's getting worse. It definitely is, and it's becoming more obvious.
But it's becoming a farce now. It's actually becoming a farce, like literally a farce. Because if people don't see now, I mean, most of them are still not aware of the monstrosity of the situation. But if they don't see on a local level that the Irish government now, all of the parties are bringing out these asylum seekers and everything in the European elections, they're putting them in all of their papers. And I didn't listen yesterday. Apparently there was a show on Marion, or Brendan O'Connor was doing interviews with these candidates from Ukraine and Nigeria and India and everywhere. And I didn't listen, but it was on YouTube on Orlared, if anyone wants to look it up. ORLARED. So this is what's going on. They're putting out all of these people to run in our government, as councillors, local councillors. But this wouldn't happen in another country. This wouldn't happen in their country. In India, I don't know anyone Irish working as a councillor. I mean, and people living in all the Irish people that go to Canada, I don't think they put themselves up for election. So it's seriously, if you haven't woken up at this stage, it's actually becoming an absolute farce.
Yeah. I don't know how people haven't woken up, but you'd be surprised. So many of them haven't. They really think the big enemy is Trump. And they can't see anything else other than Trump's a bad man. Who said no, borders or open closed borders and all that? He's a racist, fascist, bigot, blah, blah, blah. That's all they can see. And that's all they're focused on.
Yeah, well, that's on the world stage, but I mean at a local level, if you can't see it staring you in the face, that they're putting forward, Social Democrats are putting forward failed asylum seekers that are in Ireland for 10 years.
That's great. That shows how brilliant we are.
How brazen they are. How brazen they are.
Yes. Yeah.
That they dare. They think of the Irish people. We are actually the target, and from every side, from every angle. It's the Irish people that are the target. And, I understand people who come here and they want to, they don't see it as anything. They see it as normal and everything, but it's not normal in their country. We wouldn't be, it wouldn't even be considered. Imagine somebody working in Dubai went for the local elections to be as a councillor. It just doesn't happen. It's only in the West.
I don't think even at a local level, they're just not aware. It's people that are aware.
Plastered all over the fake papers this weekend. All of the candidates from, for diversity, for the sake of diversity. There's only diversity for Europe and for the West. There's no diversity anywhere else.
If the left love it, I think it's great. They can't wait until we're non-white and have no Irish blood or no Celtic blood or none of our origins left. They want it so nobody could tell what an Irish person is. They want it so bad. They don't care. They'd almost commit suicide for it. That's how brainwashed they are.
And did they want gangs and ghettos and gangs? The ones who want mosques.
Oh, they want the mosque, yeah.
Joe.
And actually, it's so funny that they really do. They don't care what anybody says. They really do believe, that this is a race and that it's just because if it wasn't for the West blowing them up, then, these people would be fine and it's all our fault, even though Ireland wasn't in a war. But anyway, it's all our fault, or, the West, even we've nothing to do with the other countries, but because we're the same colour, so it's our fault as well. I don't know how that works, but in their little heads, they've been brainwashed for so long. Because we're white, we're part of this people who were blowing them up, so we're all the same, and therefore we deserve the same thing. But the
Maybe they
mosque
should
is
look at.
fantastic. It shows how open and caring people we are. And anybody who speaks out about the rape or anything like that, in fact, she was a dark woman in Labour in the UK. She said, although the girls who've been groomed in Britain should just shut their mouth for
Yeah.
diversity.
Yeah.
I mean, and that is the left attitude. They don't care about the girls being gang raped, groomed,
I think
children
she's
being.
Muslim, though. I think she works for Labour,
She does
which is
work for
another
Labour.
fake party, It's
Absolutely.
another fake party, and they are all subversion agents. How come we don't hear about, do they want, in January there in 2018, there was the town of Lusk was forced into lockdown when there was 100-strong African gang invaded the village, throwing stones at buses and smashing up property. How come that wasn't on RT propaganda TV?
No,
Hmm?
and if it did, they would swing it to far rights are complaining. Look at them out there, violent far right, complaining on these poor refugees. It's just because one or two of them are gang raping or smashing or killing. It doesn't mean that we can. It's just like looking at all the Irish, like they're so full of their crap. They don't
Is that what they
care.
want? I mean, is that what the Liberals want? They want that in every town in Ireland. That's what the ruling elite of this country want anyway. They want us completely destroyed. Mm.
I actually do think the left want that because they want communism. I mean, a lot of them want that. They want it so destroyed that when you rebuild it, that everybody is the same. They have this in their head that if we destroy what they see in their head, I mean, you can kind of sort of see it from an English point of view because they had a class system. But Ireland, we didn't. It
Well,
was
I
like
think they're
America.
in a deep sleep in England. I mean, that's because their media is totally under control. And unfortunately, when they were being invaded, they had no internet, so they didn't know what was going on. And there's a lot of it here. We don't know half of what's going on.
Oh, we don't know anything really. But I mean, it's lucky that we have the alternative media, but so that we closed down. But you can kind of see they had a class system, so they could use it. With Ireland, they've just ignored that Ireland didn't have any white rights or white things that they say about other races. They didn't have a class system.
They have
They
a
didn't
mental
have
case down
any
there
of the.
yesterday. Jesus was a refugee. This is
Oh,
the kind
God,
of crap that they're saying. Oh, by the way, he returned to his homeland. So everybody knows. That's actually what happened.
my God.
This is what they want. They want Babylon, world government.
Sure, even every Christmas, I
How
hope
did we get these people? Did we import these people? How come half of them are mentally retarded? They couldn't be
a lot of
Irish
them
off.
are English. I often wonder that myself. A lot of them have British voices or have lived in England. If you listen to them, they have kind of working class English accents, a lot of them. I don't know where they came from. Like some of them say they're Irish, but they sound
No,
very English.
they're not, or they have other issues um, from other tribes. But Richard Boyd Barrett was another one there yesterday on Twitter, and those Liberals took photographs of Gran Torino's car registration and everything. So they'd want to
Fast.
watch themselves because they're becoming a little threat now to
No, they will
independent
get away with it.
speech.
There is nothing that will happen. Now, if he gets attacked, and God, I really hope he doesn't, and I hope he keeps safe and everything like that. But I'm telling you, the guards won't do anything. The left have so much power in this country. They will literally say to him, and I know from personal experience, what they will say to him is, well, you've obviously upset a few people. Why don't you apologise to them? Or the other thing the guards will say to him, and I know this from personal experience, is, well, we can't do anything unless they physically attack you. Even if they have it in writing, we are going to murder you or we're going to whatever. Well, they haven't actually, unless they physically come to you, they can't do anything, apparently. But now,
Well,
if
they
it was
were
on the left, it was the other way around, the police will not go near you. If you're on the record as far as they're concerned, you're far right. You're more
No, it's
dangerous.
clear that they don't work for us either. They have, they're
So,
part of the corporation, Ireland Inc., which is now a corporation. And we are run by a corporation, and we have a government who bow to the corporation and to the ruling families. And the Senate and the Dáil is controlled by them, the ruling families, who
I
do
mean,
not,
the only
who hate the
one
Irish, who have an
saying
ethnic hatred of the Irish people and Christianity. And they would
absolutely.
like to wipe the land, as they did in the famine times. They would like to wipe Ireland with a cloth and
Yeah,
remove all of the white Christians from Ireland.
that's exactly
And
what they
its language. And by the way, that will, I mean, the language obviously will suffer when the amount of immigrants
Oh,
that
yeah.
just keep coming in and in when there's no borders, when there's so-called no border. We'd have
Absolutely.
to literally,
They're working on that already. They've got rid of, having Irish. You had to have Irish if you were a civil servant. You had to have Irish if you were a teacher. You had to have Irish if you got. They
yeah,
got rid of all that. You can have anything. There's no other than that. That's racism. So they want, and they will totally from now on start employing and have a certain amount of non-Irish in it because they will change the complete face of every single job. It'll come to a point where we will be a minority in a very short time in our own
well, yeah,
country.
ethnic and cultural cleansing of Europe, yeah. And people would want to wake up. And Catherine Zappone, when I see the Tuam survivors, they have no idea. I mean, they haven't, people can look up Tuam hoax on YouTube. They have no idea that she's a subversion agent, really.
I don't know how they
The
don't know it.
actual
I don't
families
know
are
anything
very
about it,
affected
but I
by it, but
just,
they don't realise they're being used
oh
as
yeah,
well, a bigger agenda to destroy the Catholic Church in Ireland, so they can bring in their gender neutrality and their abortion, teaching about abortions and teaching about porn, teaching children porn and everything.
yeah.
And the state will, at some point, they will want control completely.
No, it's
Uh,
completely. Well, they already have it. We're not far off it. I think this is why Brexit is bugging them because I think they wanted the whole of Europe. I know that England might be doing, the UK might be doing their own thing and maybe just another thing, but they wanted that. And I think because it weakens the EU and the EU are complete control over Ireland. We don't have a government, not for Irish people at all. And they are going to drag us into a war and we don't have a government. We don't have any strong power like Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Sinn Féin, People for Profit are all far left. They're dying to march us into the death and to clear our land from the Irish. They all want us dead.
mm,
And
it's
that
getting
is
people
where
to
we've
believe.
never
It's
been in
getting
this
people to
situation
believe it.
before.
That's the problem. It's getting people to believe it. You know, they say you have a tinfoil hat on. Not that I give a damn what they say at this stage. They're the ones who are asleep.
Absolutely. But they're so, they don't care. Part of them are asleep. But there's a lot of them who actually hate Ireland so much that they're willing to destroy it. They want the Africans in. They want the Muslims in. They want Ireland to be brown. They don't want a history of the white race in Ireland. They don't want our Celtic race. They don't want anything to do with our past. They want a new. What do they say? They have a saying, what's coming next is better than what went before. And that's their kind of motto.
Well, ultimately, they want to rise as the ruling ethnic, only the supremacist race.
I actually think they're a bit like Hitler. They're willing to commit suicide for this better race, which is the brown, preferably the brown
They
Muslim
want the
race.
serfs to the cattle to bow down to their fake messiah and to them. I literally think we've nothing to lose at this stage. I mean, like we'd literally have to
No, we've nothing to
seriously
lose.
remove them physically
Well,
from Dáil Éireann because
yeah,
we've only everything to lose.
if we let it go on, we have
Oh
nothing
yeah,
to
we've
lose.
everything to
But
lose.
the
Yeah.
only thing is, we've got to go all underground fairly soon. Like literally, everybody will have to be like Gran Turnino will have to be more careful. Gemma, Dorothy, all of us will have to be a lot more careful. Because this is dangerous. They will come and put a bullet in all our heads. And that's how far this government is. I mean, thankfully, none of us are getting huge numbers that the government are anyway threatened by. But as soon as that happens, not only will they try and shut us up, they will possibly just put a bullet in our head and say, oh, look, far right, got into some whatever and got killed, or may not even mention it, just disappear.
Well, they're
That's
not happy
why.
even about, that even 10,000 views, and they're not that happy. They did try to
Yeah.
shut. They will try to shut them down and have tried last week.
Yeah.
The yellow vests could land on top of them.
Yeah, sure. Even the
Entire
yellow
gang.
vest in France. What did he say? He said, "I'm willing. I willing to take a bullet in my head. I know I can be assassinated for this, but I want France free. I want Macron out."
Yeah, it took them a while to understand. They couldn't see, you see, and they were dancing around in a party when he got elected. A satanic party, and they're all Freemasons, every one of them. Sarkozy, Hollande, Macron.
I think that was rigged. I really do. I think when I was on
Young
Facebook.
people were duped. Ça marche. What was it, the slogan? En marche. Yeah, we'll move forward, and little did they know. And then they're all regretting it now.
Well, I suppose at least they woke up.
They were duped. This young, energetic, so-called. No. He has no loyalty to France. No.
No, he hasn't.
Appearances can be very deceiving. We really have to all wake up. We're like a pack of sheep now being herded into being surrounded now by wolves, and they're coming in for the attack. I can feel it.
Oh, absolutely. I've always said that. I'm actually in a calmer state now that it's actually happening, because when the build up was, I was like kind of more crazy, because now you'd have to be blind not to see it, and people who can't see it really are either completely stupid.
Well, that's what I mean. The local election should be a wake-up call. I mean, you can see this farce right in front of your eyes. People coming in who, from direct division who are legal and now going to represent you as a councillor. I mean, wake up.
I know. So I think
you can't see it now. You're really like on drugs. You must be on
dead, or you've been poisoned by a water. But I think for me it was more terrifying when I was awake. When I start waking up, really, I suppose maybe 2 years ago or so, when nobody didn't really even know anybody who was awake. And it was like, oh my gosh, like what the hell is going on? I feel like I'm a Jew, and like everyone's telling me everything is okay. And as you'd imagine it, because I always remember in school you were always asked that question: how did the Jewish not see it coming? And I can see it now so clearly. Obviously, they couldn't see it coming. All the media was telling them was all hunky dory. Everybody they knew was telling them was hunky dory. Even when it came to getting on those bloody trains, they were probably telling them they were going to a holiday camp. Everything was going to be hunky dory. And even the ones who were awake were too frightened or didn't want to believe the truth.
The Irish were in that situation. There's no. Exactly. I don't see Alan Shatter going on about that.
No.
He's another subversion agent. He never goes on about the Irish Holocaust or the Irish genocide and how they were building beautiful Bill Georgian buildings in town, and life was going on as normal while people were starving, eating grass. So I mean,
horrible. God,
they never go on about the Russian Revolution either. That was, and this again, it's again about culling the Christians. I'm sorry, but this is what it's about. All of these wars were orchestrated.
Yeah.
At the top, from the top. And they will turn around and they'll say, oh, Trump versus Brexit, you couldn't have voted for Brexit. But this will all be engineered to dismantle nation states, cause a crisis, make people panic, and herd them in one direction.
Well, already you can see that even with Sinn Féin, they're really pushing for this EU. They love the EU. But they love the EU. I don't know whether you've seen. She's like, our 32 counties, the UK is going to be in for a surprise and all this. She had some sort of article.
She's another actress. They're all
Yeah.
acting.
What's the point of us being in another bloody union? What union does it matter? You know what I mean?
No, I've already seen the world map that was drafted in 1942 of the New World Order, where all the borders are gone, and they have Germany in quarantine, and Japan, and Italy. So they obviously have a plan to punish those three countries. And Ireland is already united, and the United States has a borderless North American Union, it's called. And all national assets, I mean, everything is under their control through the UN. So it's the UN that will be the new world order. The EU was just used, in my opinion, to create a world, currency, one currency, in order to, indebt countries, enslave them through debt, as they've done with Greece. The third bailout, for me, it was such a farce that I started to look into it then at that point. And they've done that. They have enslaved Ireland completely and removed sovereignty. And the next thing now is to collapse the currency, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But the UN is the problem.
I think that'll be fairly soon, to be honest with you. I don't even think we have to wait for long to see that. I think we're really fucked. I don't even think, like a few years ago when I started speaking out, I think we had time to save. But instead we went steamroll into what we can never get back. The country is destroyed.
Well,
We are living
in secret.
in the last days of the indigenous Irish. We are the last. This time they will kill us off completely. There will be no such thing as indigenous Irish after us.
Well, I'm going to kind of hope that people have some fighting spirit left in them. I have to live like that or I'll go completely crazy. But the elite didn't want the sheeple to have the internet in the beginning. They were going to keep it for themselves, or they wanted to keep it for themselves. They didn't want us finding these things out. It takes a bit of work, even when you have all that information. You still have to spend a lot of time digging, following the money. But they didn't want us to even have that.
There's a lot of people who aren't interested, or just too frightened, or just don't want to know. I mean, there's so many people who will just spend time putting up pictures of their cats, or God knows what.
I used to wonder was I better off, but I don't think so. I'd rather know the truth. Harder, but I mean, to be in that state of complete and utter oblivion is actually scary at this stage. When they're talking about, even if you hadn't a clue, when they're talking about gender neutrality, and they're changing all the bathrooms in UCD now. All the bathrooms, Catherine Zappone made sure to be there that day to change them all. 170 bathrooms are gender neutral. Same in Galway University. And I imagine in the others as well. And they're being groomed, all the kids with this climate change. This is all to enslave them.
Oh yeah, a lot of them believe it. Majority, I'd say 90% of children believe in that.
Well, I mean, I did. I believed it at one stage. I mean, I think there's evolution and engineered climate warfare, which people find that too hard to believe. But at the highest level, they have that technology. If you look up HAARP, HAARP, and you look up DEW, direct energy weapons, and Nikola Tesla, the inventor, the genius, who never patented any of those inventions. He worked with Edison, who created the light bulb. He was his assistant. He was badly treated as well, and he went off on his own and did his own things. But he died poor. He didn't patent his inventions. The FBI landed on the scene, and apparently they swooped it all up in his hotel room, and they've been using it and working on it for 70 or so, or how many decades, to improve on it.
Yeah, it's scary times. So what happened with this, with the yellow vest? Were they still shooting them? I heard, one of them got their hand blown off or their fingers blown off or something. It's horrendous. We're not even getting any of that information.
Horrendous. Poor guy. Or just picked up the. They're throwing grenades. This is the thing. They threw a kind of a grenade, like some kind of firebomb or something, and he picked it up. And and he was going to throw it back at them, and the thing blew up in his hand. It's outrageous. I mean, you can see that it's a foreign police force working for France it's a corporation, same thing. They've taken control. I have a friend over there. I don't think she's as well. She travels and all the rest, but I'm going to have to write to her and tell her to wake up as well, because seriously, she doesn't turn on the news anymore, but
Yeah, because she's freaked out by the whole thing.
well, she she kind of protects her mental state from all that non-stop propaganda. I mean, it is to keep us in a state of all of this fear, and all these so-called accidents are not. A lot of them are contrived. Anyway, she switches it off. But I have said it to her before, but I'm not sure she. I mean, I know she does know he's a traitor, Macron. But same problem. Who do you vote for? All of them are controlled.
Yeah.
People have to take the power themselves.
Absolutely. Well, that's what the French or the Yellow Vests are trying to do. I think they've woken up to that. They really are trying to take the power back.
I know the mentality in France, so I know they won't give up. So it's going to end. It's going to end badly. Like, there's going to be a brawl, like a serious brawl.
I hope so. I really do. And I hope so for Ireland too. I hope for all our countries, but and Britain, all of us.
So they have tanks from the EU in the streets of Paris. I mean, they're not even French tanks. They're EU tanks with EU flags. Tanks.
Yeah.
These people are mostly unarmed. They just have a yellow vest on.
Well, that's what they want, the EU
tanks.
army.
But why do they need tanks? It's beyond belief. I've never seen France like that. I mean, ever.
It used to be such a fabulous country. It's so sad. It really is.
They will fight for their country. I know they'll fight for it. But we're living in La La Land in the meantime. Over here, with this controlled media, we're not a free country. We have to wake up.
It's just, I think, once this army, as has been the EU army and what they're doing in France, it's only a matter of time where it's going to be on Dublin streets, and I don't think it's long yet.
Yeah, it will be.
It's going to be on every European street, and I do think England the right thing was to get out of the EU. I know that they're in whatever, but I do think that they have saved themselves to some way. I mean, they're screwed anyway because of the amount of Muslims they have in their country. They will never have freedom unless they work out a way of sending them fucking out and trying to get control. But
they generally, I don't think there's much, it isn't the same there isn't the same hostility in France with regards to the Muslims, because at least they're not allowed to wear burqas and all of that the way they are in England. They're not allowed wear headscarves, even hijabs into schools or in hospitals or at their workplace. There's none of that allowed. So they don't necessarily marry each other. They definitely are segregated into different areas. But there is that kind of anger in the street. There would be enormous anger in France if women were walking around with head to toe burqas. It just wouldn't be tolerated.
You see, I don't think that's what annoyed English. Obviously, it was their children, and it was not small. It was their children and the government ignoring their children. Like, the smallest amount they say was 1 million children gang raped. Some people say it could have been up to 3 million gang raped. Nothing was done. Those girls were laughed at in court. The police did nothing for them. The judges did nothing for them.
They're fiddling everything. Should we have a girl over in Ireland? We have a girl in Ireland who was 14. She was raped by 3 Nigerians, and they were given a 2-year suspended sentence. So-called judge Mary Ellen Ring, a woman judge, said that the sexual offence conviction might cause them not to get employment or lose employment, and this was punishment enough. What about the girl who's on antidepressants now?
What about other girls? Other children? whose
Yeah.
lives will be
So
destroyed.
this is, that's back again to the Frankfurt School of Cultural Marxism, an unreliable legal system with bias against the victims of crime. The
Yeah.
13. There's actually a place called the Frankfurt School, and of course there's other secret organization come up with these rules, would come up with these ways of destroying Christian social cohesion with the creation of racism offences, the continual change to create confusion, the teaching of homosexuality and sex to children, the undermining of schools and teachers' authority, huge immigration to destroy identity, the promotion of excessive drinking, emptying of churches, and then again, an unreliable legal system with bias against the victims of crime, dependency on the state or state benefits, that's definitely coming. Control and dumbing down of the media, that we're living in the middle of it. Encouraging the breakdown of the family, abolishing the differences in the education of boys and girls, and declare women to be the oppressed class and men the oppressors, mostly white men the oppressors, as we've realized. So they're the 13 rules from the Frankfurt School of Cultural Marxism. And these are
Well, that's
applied,
already, you can see that's
infiltrated
very much in place.
through everything.
I mean,
Through
all of
the
that
media.
I can see already in Ireland.
Yeah, because they control the schools, they control the media, they control the banks, they control our
I
government.
mean, think of even the abortion. Any white man to speak up. I mean, I don't think the black men were stupid to speak up, but you didn't see any black men. It was white men. Any white man that spoke up that said he was against it. What have you got to do with it? You've no ovaries, so you've no voice. Like literally childish comments and stupid comments, and literally attack men,
Yeah, but they
attack
didn't even
women.
ask. They didn't even question. I mean, I know some of them were very influenced by university and all that Marxism going on. But they didn't even question why Soros was involved in all of that and what is he getting out of it and why is he funding Shamnesty and why are the ads on YouTube from the pro-life people being banned? None of that they questioned. They just screamed their heads off like lunatics.
Oh, they
And now
didn't care.
they're
They
they're
wanted
going to
it.
abort babies of up to 9 months. Now in the
Yeah.
US,
Oh,
they're trying to pass. This is just, I mean,
I
this
think
is
if she's had even given birth and she changed her mind at that, like some electors, this is what they believe. Even at that point, if she's changed her mind, she should be allowed to abort the baby after it's born. This is no fucking joke. They're that twisted. Because when you question them, that's murder.
right.
Like
They're satanic. They've been taken over by a satanic cult, and the satanic cult rules this world. They own all the banks. They control society from the top. And they want Babylon again. Remember Babylon pre-Christ was, one world government where everyone spoke the same language, and if there was depraved sexuality, pedophilia, child sacrifice, all of that was going on, and it was destroyed, and all of the sinners were sent in babbling in different languages. That's the way the story goes. If you look up the EU Commission or the EU and you type in Babylon, you'll see that they have posters, even with the old Tower of Babylon from pre-Christ time, from about 3,000 years ago. They've made posters of that, and they've even modelled the EU Commission on the old Tower of Babylon.
yeah, apparently they have a chair left there as well. They don't use 666. And they say when I ask what it's for, and they say it's for a special guest. Like, yeah, it's completely insane, that whole bloody thing.
That's why you think you're living in a film, but it's actually reality.
It's scary. I don't think they're going to wake up. I really don't think. Even when you look at that Gran Torino, those people who are attacking him weren't even that young. They're mainly, if you look at the videos, 40s, 50s.
Yeah,
I
some
mean,
of them are employees
kind of
of
you're
their
blaming
pot.
kind of the young people saying, oh, they're clueless and, the education. Those people weren't young. You're kind of thinking that was before all this was, you know,
Unbelievable,
on
unbelievable
education.
bullying. Yeah, pointing fingers, harassment.
I mean, she really was trying to antagonise him to hit her. She nearly did everything. She actually started kind of, I mean, a few times you can hear him saying, you know, this is assault. You're assaulting me here.
Yeah,
And
he was lucky. Lucky he reminded them.
to hit her.
They had to be reminded. You know, he was on a public space. He'd every right to be there.
They would have attacked him if they could have got away with it.
And I mean, Luke Ming, you have to realise these, I mean, and Richard Boyd Barrett, all of them are little communists, little subversion agents.
I used to like Luke Min until
Well,
I've seen him.
apparently he wants open borders, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah,
mean,
he does.
it's the plantation of Ireland. I mean, it's the exact same as it was before. There's no difference. It doesn't matter if they're from China. It's not against the actual migrants. I mean, they seem to think it's great for Ireland. I mean, you know, they haven't questioned, don't seem to question. They wouldn't allow it in their country.
They have it on one of the posters had, it makes Ireland a better place. Like refugees make Ireland a better place. How the hell does it make us a better place? What are they adding? I mean, they've been brainwashed that these coming in are future doctors and engineers. Yeah, right. Like most of them have very low IQs.
Well, when you have them being when you have Irish people being removed from the housing list and being pushed to the bottom of the list, and newcomers just arriving being handed a house, that's where things start to look. It's a plantation. We have a foreign government in office. We've their agents.
Absolutely. I actually think it's going to be harder for native Irish people to get Irish passports in the future. I think if you have an Irish name, they're going to actually make it harder for Irish to leave Ireland. They want us stuck here, I think. But non-Irish will get a passport, literally coming in, breathing
It's
in
up
the
to
door.
us to. I don't see why we should allow it. It's up to us to them, and this is getting to the point now. I mean, are we going to just literally wait for them to come and with axes and take our heads off? Are we going to just sit here and?
I don't know.
Oh, I mean, it is true. It's very serious because if those 700 MI5 agents are here in Ireland, we don't know where they are, we don't know what they look like, and that's an awful lot. By our fake, we have a foreign agent, Garda commissioner as well. As nice as he appears to be, he's obviously working for the banks.
So he sent them in, the MI5?
Well, I mean, I'm sure he had something to do. It would have been in coordinate. He would obviously know about it. Yeah, why are they here? What are they up to? Are they here to rig the elections?
It's just to see who signed it up. Let's say it was Higgins.
Well, I mean, we don't have access to that information, but it was.
Somebody had to sign it off. I'd say it was Higgins because he's a fucking complete not that Leo is anyway.
Well, he also works for foreign Ireland Inc., not Ireland, the sovereign, the nation that has been subverted. We're not the only ones. We're not on our own. They're trying to, every nation in Europe, and especially Europe and the West, Canada, Australia, America, and the West, and Western Europe, and Eastern Europe even.
It's interesting. I'd love to know who signed it off, or maybe.
Well, I mean, it's like the thing in Omagh. I mean, the Omagh bomb at the time, the families believed that it was the IRA, but apparently the deeper they got into it, the more they realised it wasn't. So there's an awful lot of things going on. I mean, was it deliberately planted to create the Good Friday Agreement, and what are we getting out of it? Have we signed over Northern Ireland? Because apparently we signed over the ownership of the North as part of the Good Friday Agreement. I mean, there's no Irish language rights, and 20 years has gone by, and they're definitely not gonna kill themselves to give those language. It's all a ploy, the whole thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a few more bombs, but they will be infiltrated by the Irish government. They want Northern Ireland to start off something, and that could possibly be why the M7 or the M15 are being sent in. The MI5, I should say. The MI5 being sent in, possibly. I don't know. It's hard. It'd be interesting to see who signed them off.
Oh, I'd say they're up to all sorts of mischief. Undercover. Yeah, they're here to subvert Ireland. I mean, that's clear. They're not here for our benefit.
Or maybe
it's pre-Brexit and, they're preparing for the Brexit fallout. And then we have the May elections. God knows what they'll do with the ballot boxes then.
I'd say you're right. I'd say it's to do with the Brexit. And I'd say it's because, and they were sent over a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
Oh, yeah, maybe a month. Yeah. Maybe
because since then, Leo has been coming out with more shit than he normally comes out with. Like the first bit, he was like, I am the European Union.
Can you believe that?
Yeah. And then the
recent
I am
the European Union?
Not I am for the European, but I am the European Union. And then the last one is the UK are in for a nasty surprise. More shit.
Yes. He's back to the script again. Yes. He's unbelievable. This.
I mean, since they've been here, he's coming out with more shit. So I don't know whether he's pissed off with them being here, and I don't know.
Bed with them completely. And they're having these secret meetings up there in Ulster with the Orange Order men. Looks delighted with himself.
Who? Leo? Can't imagine that. Really?
Absolutely.
Because unless he wants them to be part of his lovely European Union that he loves so much, I can't imagine him doing it for any other reason.
We are definitely the last priority.
Oh God, of course we are.
The
only reason why he'd be doing that is he wants the whole 32 in the European Union, the same as Sinn Féin. So of course he probably would be up there. So does that make sense? Because that would be the only thing stopping them. They think they could get the national community because of Sinn Féin to jump into the bed with the EU because they want the whole lot of it in the EU. They've made that very clear.
They got the abortion and everything going. This is just like Cromwell all over again, except this time we're actually signed up for it. I mean, it was rigged from A to Z, but it was rigged. That's what people are still believing, these farcical figures, which are not real. They deliberately made it a huge figure so people would be dumbstruck.
Absolutely. So you can't fight anything. So
then they went and had a party and they organised it before the counting had even finished. I mean, come on. We literally, they couldn't be happier that they've been trying to get rid of us for centuries, and now we've signed up for the abortion and mass immigration.
All in one girl, like Leo is, and I wish the hell, mind you, if he's not in, someone else would be in, but he just really freaks me out because his hate
wouldn't make any difference. Yeah, even if it was someone more suave and more more secretive,
their hatred.
But it's put into his mouth.
Even hide his hatred. It's so obvious in every word he says. His hate for the Irish people. He obviously had a hard time growing up being an Indian, in Ireland, because his hate is so clear as day every time he opens his mouth. Because I suppose, we were a white country and we were very much an Irish country, so maybe it was difficult for him being in Northern.
Maybe he's just an agent, who's a subversive agent. He's on the list, of the 16 agents that are in Ireland, or they're working to subvert the country. I'm sure he's treated like everyone else in school. Irish children are not racist in any way.
No, but I'd say
noticed.
They were all mainly Irish. I think he hates that. He wants to get rid of that.
Well, maybe it makes him feel more comfortable, but we have a right. We have a right to exist as a. We are an ethnic. Obviously, in Northern Ireland, that was the problem. They're two white races, but they're not of the same ethnic identity or ancestry.
These certainly weren't of the same race or the same anything as these migrants coming in are completely. There was no genes together with them. They're completely different. There's nothing the same.
But
they actually hate the Northern Irish, even though there's probably very little difference between them. But they absolutely hate the Northern Irish and hate the British, even though there's very little probably difference between us, but absolutely love Africans and Muslims. And they're completely different. They want them in.
Well, they trying to brainwash the public into believing that they're Irish, that their ethnic identity doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But like free speech, you can't pick and choose your ethnic identity and your ancestry that goes back thousands of years. And that's what
They're
makes
like
the world
pretending that we
interesting.
don't have it and that it's all
Well, you can't pick one and drop the other. It's like these, you can't, you have two. If you're of mixed race, you have two identities. They're equally important. You can't just drop one as if it doesn't exist. Of course, you have another ancestry, completely different and just as interesting.
like it's just getting worse. Like I don't
Well,
know.
it is, because even last week I didn't think it'd be. I always think I have this. Yeah, maybe a few days it'll be kind of calm, but no, it isn't. It's never ending.
No. Oh, it's getting worse. You can see they're heading into war. Like,
Yeah,
prepare for United Ireland, Sinn Féin tells unionists.
yeah.
Like, totally
Under
antagonising
what
everywhere you
conditions?
see. They're
United
antagonising
Ireland, how? Under what conditions? Under a
under the second
world
EU, of
currency.
course.
Yeah, so we would be, say, imagine we have a digital currency, cashless society, and everyone in Europe or the world has this more or less. Um, yeah, under what conditions would we have, unionists in Dáil Éireann next? That would be, I mean, we have it just as bad anyway. We have just.
I wouldn't mind unionists. I think that'd be our least of problems. What we will be having very soon,
Yeah,
the
but they're
quicker
trying.
before the
Yeah, but
unionists, will be
I think.
Africans and feckin' Muslims who will be insisting on Sharia law and feckin' our church has been turned into mosques. That's more likely to happen than having unionists because their hate for unionists and the British is much stronger. They love all Muslims and migrants, so that's more likely to happen and not in our lifetime, not a very long time from now, that you will see Ireland becoming quite Islamic. I would actually say in 20 years it will be taken over by Islam.
Well, I don't think. I don't think so, because I think a lot is going to happen in the next very soon. So,
See?
in every poll they've ever taken, Irish people have never. They've always said that they didn't want mosques or Islam to grow in Ireland. They've always said that, and they've always been honest about it.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter what they say. It's like the abortion referendum or any other referendum since
Yeah,
Lisbon
but
when
it
they
does matter because the anger will rise. They
they'll
can't
hope,
just keep building mosques. People are going to start reacting, you know.
well, hopefully the Irish will. I mean, I'm little to see any kind of outrage. I mean, okay, Leo and
Well,
Harris locking him in, and that's been a good start. But I mean, they need a lot more because there's people dying on the Irish streets. There was another man this weekend who dies in Dublin, and yet while we're being flooded day after day of migrants, 1.6 million put in recently to look for homes for migrants. Nothing for the Irish people. And nobody caring about the Irish people. He just died this weekend.
I
Barely
didn't
even on
hear
the
about that.
news.
No, I didn't hear about it. No.
Yeah, it's on the Irish Examiner. A man dies in Dublin Homeless Service last night. So it's just it's barely put in. They died on the 17th.
Oh yeah, that's only a day or two. Yeah, no, I didn't hear anything about it.
It's just becoming, and yet if that was a migrant, Jesus Christ, it would be in every paper all over the bloody world,
Well, maybe
not
it's just
just in
time to
Ireland.
stop buying the papers. Just
Yeah,
stop buying them. And, at some point you have to, if you're being told lies, you have to just stop paying your TV license. We have the power.
yeah.
We just have
I
to
think
exercise
everybody's got
that
the right
power
to feel.
and bankrupt a lot of them. They're planning on bankrupting us anyway, and the entire world. They want to bring the world to its knees. Because people are not going to give in to a world government easily. They're going to have to be brought to their knees.
Yeah. They'll kill a lot of us off.
I know you always have the worst. Well, that's the plan. That's definitely the plan. I'm kind of hoping some miracle that the Irish people will wake up.
I like your view that they will wake up, but
Yeah, I have this hope.
I
This
just see
hope.
so many of them so like unbelievable. Like I talk to my mother and even my brothers and sisters and they're like, What? Just like, don't know what you're talking about. You've got crazy ideas going on. What? Why? And literally they have no clue.
How would they? Because these people operate in secret. And
Yeah.
they creep up on you, they creep up on you bit by bit. And then you turn around and it's the wolf, it attacks the sheep, bam, you're gone. Get you by the neck. They're obviously going to do it. That's how they have succeeded all these decades. They've done it through deception, through the control of the media, and bit by bit by bit, they're coming in for the kill. How would they know? It's like the same with my brother.
Like I can't even talk to my sisters. One in
Well,
particular, like,
they
both of
shouldn't
them are
exist.
completely, and they both went, and they're a good bit older than me. Both my sisters would be a good bit older than me, and they
Some
both
of
voted for abortion
oh,
and believe in abortion,
yeah.
and totally think, oh God, well, what happens if this, if that, the other thing happens, and this happens? They're totally. Now they're not bad people, but they really do believe. If we have to have abortion, we may not use it, but what if this happens and that happens, and even when you try to explain them, there was abortion in Ireland. It was called D&C if the mother's life was in danger. La da 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 da. You try and explain all this to them, they just. But what if it was a child of that, and then this happened and that happened? And they can't see. They have to believe there's a loophole. And I'm like, but all those children, all those babies who will be killed because girls now are being told there is no problem in killing. It's normal. It's natural. Kill your baby. They have helplines to help you kill your baby. So to try and encourage you not to have babies, it's called, what is it? Myoptions.com. And you
Yeah.
ring up. And I
Yeah, but
rang
they
up.
were harassed. Weren't they harassed by the courts recently? They were
Were
trying to
they?
shut them down. Yeah, I saw something that the HSC was trying to shut them down in the courts. They don't want anyone to have any options. And anyway, what really, yeah, they
Well, there's
were they were trying to get them shut down. HSC is a cartel.
yeah. But there's no options. You ring up myoptions.com or whatever, because I did ring them up, and I gave them a very blasé story that I wanted to have abortion and that my boyfriend didn't know, and he'd be devastated. Just see if there was any guilt. Like I was and I only just decided this weekend, and I was past the 12 weeks because they're going about the bullshit of the 12 weeks. They, they literally they gave me in my area where I could have an abortion with no
But see,
questions. There was no 72 hours thinking about it. All that's all been bullshit. They didn't even ask me to go and, do 72 hours or whatever. It was like, yeah, sure, there's the number.
yeah, but I mean,
There was no, like, even think about it. Maybe you should
they're
talk to your
laughing
partner.
in London. They're delighted in London. The cult that run, London. They've been trying for years to slaughter the Irish. Cromwell, and everything. His statue still stands. It's outside the House of Lords or one of the place out there. But the fact that Soros was involved and they were banning the pro-life ads is enough for me to say, well, obviously the globalists want it so badly. Why do they want it so badly? That's enough
They
to annoy
wanted it
me.
because they were going to
They're
make
even
money out
involved.
of the dead babies. They're putting dead babies in food. I'm not joking.
Yeah,
They're
I
actually
know.
putting dead babies as
I know why
food
they
kind
do
of
that.
flavoring and all sorts of shit.
Yeah.
I know, like people find that completely insane. But it's going into stem cells, it's going into loads of things. They want the dead babies. That's why Harris had them all have it signed
They
off that they
want
have no
that because
rights.
they want the goyim, the cattle to. They want it's satanic. You see, it's their satanic cult that they're in. They want us to eat of our own as such without us even knowing. It's they get great enjoyment out of it. It's funny to them that we're that clueless. I mean, there's no pain relief. They don't want pain relief. Fine Gael, Fine Gael Labour and Sin Sorrow's Fein.
I can't believe they went for no pay. And nobody argued with it. That was the
Disability and
crazy
gender.
thing.
You can select based on disability and gender. You're not, there's no parent notification and all of this. It's just.
I mean, God love the amount of Irish girls young girls who will die because they literally been told this abortion is a walk in the park because they didn't give any real stories about how many women and girls die in the UK after having abortions or who end up with serious implications or bleed to death, even while the abortion
It's just the
referendum
way
was
that
happening.
it's totally satanic. At the highest level, it's about child sacrifice for the cult that run it's to Moloch, to their false god, I mean, they've rejected pain relief. They've rejected medical care for the survived baby. They've rejected disability and gender, so you can select based on whether they're a boy or a girl. You have people from other cultures then selecting boys over girls. Now they've a shortage of women in China, apparently. Huge shortage of women. They've rejected an offer for an ultrasound of the heart. They don't want the mother to realise that it's actually beating, obviously. Parents obviously won't be even notified if their daughter's at 16. And freedom of conscience, so they don't want the doctors and nurses to have any choice in the matter. They want them to be forced to carry out abortions.
They will just hire foreign doctors to do it.
People haven't copped on, really, that none of those parties work for Ireland. They'd really want, they need to get off the soaps and, in a very short time, in what, 5 years? All of this subversion has happened. Teachers now saying the teachers are too white. It's in a very short time. So imagine in 5 years from now, and I don't think we'll even make 5 years because I think there will be an event, a contrived event before that.
I think you're right.
They want everything. The farmers, they want all of that land. They want everything under their ownership, packed up, just like NAMA. That NAMA was created by the same gang. They to pack everything up and sell it off to themselves, so they could be sold off to the vulture funds. They suggested NAMA. They told them exactly what they had to do, and they created that agency. They were told what to do, and then they packed all of those 900 properties, 900 of them, into that portfolio.
That's
only Eagle Star, by the way. Eagle Star, that's only Eagle Star. It doesn't include Cerberus, Oakfield, all the others. Then you see the people down in Grafton Street and everything. They don't understand why they can't control their rents because they're owned by those families. And the government won't touch them with a long barge pole. That's why it's only upward-only rent. And it's the same down in towns.
Did you see the a Nigerian asylum seeker becomes Ireland's first black mayor?
No, I missed that. Where's that?
In Portlaoise, County Laois, with its family, 2000 later set up unemployment support in county. It's the first elected to the town council, 2004, pulling them more than 300 votes. So yeah, Portlaoise.
Was it elected or was it rigged? I don't know, but
obviously rigged.
Well, I don't know, but
obviously, yeah.
Nothing against him, but what I think they want now with this May election, they're going to slip in a few.
Oh, they're going to slip in most.
Yeah, directly elected mayors. Directly elected mayors. This is the next thing. Maybe that's why the I-5 gang are over here. When I think of what Michael Collins and all went through just to get rid of the spies in Ireland, what they went through, and he's handed Leo and co have handed the keys back to an ex-MI5 agent at access to all the files in Dublin Castle. And now we have 700 of them roaming the country that we know of.
They literally come into the country, they're putting them in for election.
Well,
that's what they're doing. They're literally, as soon as they literally off the feckin' boat, they're putting them in and they're putting them in for elections.
They want to have directly elected mayors.
Yeah.
They want to remove women. I think remove women from the home or some kind of, yeah, break up the family, make women go back to work. So not recognize women as such, as the mother, and
Yeah, they're calling them parent
give
one
her
and
the
parent
right to
two.
be at home if she wants to be. That one. They want to remove that.
Yeah, it'd be parent one, parent two. They've already done that in a lot of papers now. You see parent one, parent two. I think, what was it, passport I was filling out a while ago, and it was parent one and parent two.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, as you know, you can now be two women or two men and be parent one and parent two, and you don't have to have the genetic.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's why they
they're
removed
trying
mother
to
and father off
fantasize.
paper.
Well, you can't. It's false. It's falsified. You know, the birth cert. It's completely fake. So at some point, they're going to want to know their real origins when they discover that two men can't have a baby and two women can't have a baby in a biological sense.
Well, they're going to try and get rid of gender, so children will be now born with gender X, so that there won't be ever that you wouldn't know who was born a female, who was born a male.
Well, this
It's
is all about Christianity, you see. This is all about destroying Christianity. This is the real target. You know, where there are the family unit and male and female, and there's only two sexes. Christianity doesn't recognize 10 different sexes. So that is really what this gender neutrality and abortion and, porn, teaching of porn and all of that is all about attacking the Christian culture of Europe and calling it tolerance, giving it the new brand name rights and equality. That's why the Pope never goes after the Muslims, because they have child brides and they have all that pedophilia and bestiality. He only goes after the Christians, and then we have to be more tolerant of them, drain it into Christianity and remove Christianity bit by bit by bit.
anyway,
And it's not about religious, yeah.
it's been fascinating to talk to you again, and we'll see next week if there's any movements, what's happening. But the world is getting more crazier. As we step closer to Brexit, I do believe we're going to see some huge, huge changes. I think possibly the EU army on ground in Ireland. I do think things are going to really heat up then. Got really bad feelings. Things are going to get really bad after Brexit for Ireland. The government is in fear that the Irish people would try and strike the same way and look to get out of the EU, and that they definitely don't want, and they will literally bomb us before they allow us to get out of the EU. So it'll be interesting to see the run up to the EU till they
I
leave
think
the
that
EU.
the world is a stage. I think they're acting. I think they know the EU is going to break up, and they know the UN will be the one that will step in. But we'll see. But whatever you see on the TV is definitely a play, script. That's what you have to keep telling yourself. Just like 9/11 was, there was a script, and there was a lot of gold actually at the bottom of the Twin Towers, that went missing afterwards. Tons and tons of gold.
Yeah, it's
They were in
it's
the
in,
in the basement, of the Twin Towers.
I never knew that. No, I'm not really sure about. I've read so much about the Twin Towers that I'm actually confused about it. Some people say that there was actually bombs that went off at the same time as the plane. And if you look back at George Bush's interview, it's quite weird. He's almost smirking.
Well, he's another maniac. He's
It's
another
like
maniac. We won't even get into it. Yeah.
there was something
But
very,
that's what I'm
very.
saying. Everyone will be glued to their TV, and this is the problem. They have total control of that too. So you have to separate if you can, to get control of your critical thinking and not be too influenced by literally their script that they're playing out.
Yeah.
Because we were all glued to 9/11, but I mean, And after that, they passed the Patriot Act, and the Patriot Act was about, they immediately passed the Patriot Act with no problem at all, and saying that we have to do it for your benefit, have, more mass surveillance, be able to access your phone, all of that. They gave up, their right to privacy because of 9/11 as well.
Yeah.
And they've used terrorism as the excuse. All they need now is the guns from the Americans, and then the job is done.
Yeah, that they're struggling to get guns, but they've been trying to, and I think even a lot of these shootings are like really trying to get wherever they can, and I do think they'll do a few more shootings when things die down, try and get the guns off them. They'll try anything to get the guns. They were so paranoid to get those bloody guns. It just hasn't worked for them so far.
Well, I let you go then, and God, it's terrible.
It is, yeah. Oh, but we'll see what it goes. Things may turn. We may be surprised, but they will turn either way. Hopefully not as I predict. Hopefully more as you predict. But we'll see. As things come closer to Brexit, things will definitely be heating up. I'd say we'll see a false flag or two of a bomb in Northern Ireland. As I would imagine the Irish government will plant it, because they really could care less about how many Irish people will get blown up in it. But to be
London, we'll see.
Yeah, no, I'd say it's actually Leo. Leo, his hatred for the British and the Irish, but the British now because they've tried to get out of his EU little thing. I would actually say he'll put a bomb in there.
He likes the British. He literally cannot stop. He literally loses control of himself every time he sees Theresa May go completely.
No, I don't think. I think he likes the fact when they were in the EU. I don't think he likes, and he's made a lot of comments anti-British.
Yeah, I think that's an act. It's a load of crap. It's
possibly
just to steer the sheeple. He's told what to say, to steer the sheeple in a direction like a herd of sheep.
Well, he's stirring them anti-British. I mean, it's stirring it up that he wants something to happen in Ireland, and he's stirring it.
None of them are telling the truth, so we have to.
Yeah, but I do think he's stirring it up. He wants something to happen, so I do think whether he creates it and does a few false flags in Northern Ireland, he definitely wants to stop Brexit at any means he can. He's gone out of his way to affect Irish trade with the British after Brexit. He's gone so anti-British with his madness. But anyway, we will find out next week what's going on more and what's happening with this crazy stuff and if anybody's ever going to wake up to it all. But again, thank you so much for listening. And thank you, Eileen, for coming on the show again. It was fantastic again, and it's good to chat. So we'll talk, we keep chatting and keep educating. And that's all we can do is just keep educating ourselves and keep educating others. And, everybody stay awake and try and pass this on. Even if people don't want to listen to it, they need to hear what's going on. They need to start waking up. And even if it's something little, wake up and read something and you'll start to see what's happening in the world and pieces start coming together. Thank you so much for coming on again, Eileen, and we'll speak to you next Saturday.
Okay.
Thank you very much on the Bon Marie Show. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Thank you, listeners. Bye-bye.
You are listening to Irish News Radio at irishnews.net. Email news@irishnews.net.